gonna spend too much time with the riff-raff today because we gotta get through this one. I only got an hour with my man Kel. What's going on, boss?
Man, feels great. Great to be in here with you.
Yeah, man.
The music has me hyped.
Yeah,
it makes me want to come back from you over here. That intro makes you want to throw the gloves back on.
Right.
Nah, it feels great. It's a great boxing week.
Yeah.
Coming here and to talk. Great fights last weekend.
Yeah.
The slate is packed going from this weekend on. Every week we got something.
Boxing is in, I think, a fabulous position right now, starting the new year off, in my opinion, great. Welcome to the PorterWay Podcast. Showtime Sean P, obviously. And then to my left, we got Kel Dansby with the Corner Podcast. You guys are here twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, sir.
Tuesdays, y'all speaking boxing and MMA. UFC primarily, I would assume.
Yep.
And then on Thursdays, y'all got pro wrestling, everything.
Everything pro wrestling.
It ain't just WWE. Everybody think that it, for the commoners like myself, we don't know that it's more than just the WWE out there, So y'all talking all that good stuff, huh?
Yes, sir. Myself, my co-host Andreas Hale, who's with Sporting News. Myself, I cover boxing for ESPN, social media, but we talk everything, like you said, all three combat sports. I know, no offense to nobody watching, pro wrestling counts as a combat sport,
100.
Sport to us. But yeah, now we talk all three every week. So whether if you're a boxing fan, there's an episode for you. If you're an MMA fan, there's an episode for you. Wrestling fan, there's an episode for you. Because there's so much tie-in, and as black men covering these sports, not a lot of us. So we try to talk all of them. We love being in all those spaces, lending our voices to all three sports, because it's voices that are really needed. As well as, just people with the wealth of knowledge like yourself, people who've done it before, people who've been in the rings or the cage and everything. It's important to also have journalists. That, we didn't do that, but
people don't know that. There's a difference.
It balances. We work together so well to have those different perspectives. And we're always playing catch up as journalists, right? Because you guys are in there, but that gives us the time, the dedication. We both put in that amount of work.
That's the only reason. Hours. The only reason why I don't trip about the podcast. We could do a live show every Sunday, the day after the fights. We could do a live show right after the fights. We release our shows on Tuesdays, but I know there's something specific and special here that you can't get Sunday after the fight. You can't get Monday after the fight. So even though, we do be a little behind in the times, our voice is a little bit different. Our style is a little bit different, as you can see. And that's what makes it, unique and special. You know what I mean? So I get it.
Of course. And that little bit of time to reflect is different. You'll know, like, you see things so much differently if you watch a fight twice, 3 times, 4 times. Then just come right off the broadcast and covering it. For myself, a lot of these fights, I have to be running around all night. I'm running around with a phone or a camera, and I'm, catching the backstage interactions. I'm on the apron, and stuff looks completely different. That's why I don't give judges flack anymore.
I've been on here just trying to support these judges. They got a hard job to do on fight night.
When I watch fights from the apron, it goes so fast. There's little things. You really do have to look at how a fighter reacts. All fighters react differently to punches. So you look at someone like Floyd, who rolls with so many of his punches. Someone will be like, oh, he gets hit a lot. It's like, no, he's just rolling with the punches. The punches are glancing. So you got to know, like, what causes damage, what doesn't.
I know we'll get there. I was thinking about that when I was watching Tony Harrison on Saturday night. I was like, he's rolling with a lot of the punches that are being thrown, but then he's also getting hit as well. So it gives you the perception that the punches that he rolls with, that he's getting hit. You know?
I think we saw that on the cards. He was down 7-5 on most of the judges' scorecards. People like, it's not that close at all. But it's a lot of those punches are, okay, can you roll with them? The movement counts. It was a smaller ring, how he maneuvers, constantly firing the jab. So it's one of those things where the punch output for him really didn't slow. He just wasn't throwing power punches, right? So like the judges and what comes into account is always great when you look at these fights from such a close perspective. And then sometimes it's good to go home. And see it on TV and see what everyone else sees. And I get to hear people like you on commentary and get that different perspective.
There's a shot right there of Tszyu tagging Harrison. And I mean, that right hand was just, It was on the money all night, and I don't want to speed past anything. We got to go pretty quickly with this episode. I do want to get some things in before we get here, and I know we can pull it down and we'll show it again. But I mean, that's right there was all night for Tszyu, was the right hand, and then he started to mix everything up. We will have Derrick James on the show today. I asked him to come on. I wanted to get his take on the fight. We all know what's coming next now. I had a pretty good feeling about what was coming next, even though I tweeted, hey, I think Tony Harrison is going to be too smart for Tszyu all night. Yep. He didn't come out and do what I expected him to do, and that's why I don't like making predictions. You know, you expect one thing based on what you've seen, based on what you know, based on what you think the game plan should be, and then a guy may come out flat. A guy may come out and is just dry the first two. There's so many things that go into a great performance on one night, and Tony just coming out of the gate, he didn't have it, you know?
I wanted to ask you this, because again, you have all this experience. How much does a ring and the size of the ring matter?
Yeah. I asked, I brought that up when we did the weigh-in show over there, because as I just continue to look at every component of this fight, I looked at the card and it was like supposed to be nothing but bangers all night. I said, okay, cool. These are all going to be bangers, and you especially want the main event to be as close to a banger as possible. I was like, I wonder how big the ring is, you know, because I know Tony's team and I know where he comes from, they're going to be concerned about the ring. So I went and I asked the promoters, and they said, sure enough, that it's an Olympic-sized ring, meaning it's more than likely a 24 by 24-inch ring. And when I got that answer, I said, cool, Tony's going to use the ring, and he's going to out-slick Tim all night. And it just wasn't the case. That's how that fight was supposed to go. We negotiated the bigger ring so that we have room to move. Instead, Tony decided to get on the corner, stay on the corners, and stay on the ropes, and stay in the corners instead of using the ring. But realistically, that was a big ring on purpose so that Tony, for the sake of words, would have room to survive or room to work and manipulate and do the things that he's really good at doing. And he just didn't do that on Saturday night.
It's always interesting for me because it's easy to sit here and be like, we know what he has to do to win. Yeah. We know what he has to do to win. And then to watch it play out and you see one person not take that game plan into the ring. Yeah. But you are a pressure fighter. Yeah. Your career, your style was taking people.
I've been on the side of we're getting a smaller ring tonight. Cool. And I've been on the side of, well, they negotiated, we're getting the bigger ring tonight. Yeah. Fortunate enough for me, I'm a hybrid fighter. I could fight in the big ring. I could fight in the smaller ring because I had quick feet. I can make up the distance. But just for anybody that doesn't know out there, when you get the smaller ring, the 21 by 21 or the 20 by 20, it takes 3 steps back and you're on the ropes. With the bigger ring, 24, 23, 24, 4 steps back, maybe 4.5 to 5 steps back, meaning there's more room for you to just stay out of harm's way, more room to force that other guy to stop attacking and reset, you know? So I thought that there were some components that were on Tony's side on fight night that he didn't use to his potential, you know?
Yeah, we saw it in that still shot. When I look at that fight, I think Tony, first thing, could have held more, which sounds horrible because it's not great for the fans, right? Fans don't want to hear that. Yeah. But he could have held more. It reminds me kind of when Amir Khan fought you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I didn't fight Amir.
Oh, not Amir. Kel Brook.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay. When you fought Kel Brook, and you pressured him, every time you got too close, he held you. Yeah. Because you'll get the space, the ref will break it back open, went back to the jab.
Forces the reset.
Forces the reset. Yeah. He let the judges do whatever the judges did. Yeah. Some people thought you won, some people thought he won. Yeah. The judges did what it was. Yeah. But he never let you stay and smother him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tony did that, and he didn't hold to reset that length because he was winning the battle of the jabs.
Oh my God.
Tim refused to throw the jab for much of that fight. Yeah. It's just he never had to because he would smother the jab and live in there.
Much easier said than done. And you know, we can see the fight now, so hindsight's 20/20, but in the moment, it just seemed like if you make this man jab for jab with you, you out-jab him, you win this fight. And I've told people plenty of times, you can win the jab just off of the jab. I mean, you can win a fight just off of the jab. Just depends on what happens on the back end of that jab. Tony had a sharp jab, No head movement after the jab. Tony had a sharp jab. On the call, I called it a piston jab. You know, I was shouting him out. Detroit, he had a piston jab. That shit was popping Tim's head back like this.
Constantly.
But nothing after. No step to the left, no step to the right. The things that I've seen Tony do with his eyes closed, he wasn't doing on fight night. You know what I mean? So, realistically, you could say he got old in the moment. You could say he was old going to the ring. You know, you take a look at the fact that he had three losses all by knockout. Yeah. That ages you. You know what I mean? So I said on paper that Tim Tszyu was supposed to win this fight. And I thought that there were components that Tony could bring to the ring to pull up an upset. But on paper, Tony's the older fighter, even though he's only 34. Let's add 3 years because he's been knocked out 3 times. He's 37. Now you got 37 against 28. You got a hungry dude that ain't never been there yet. He's not going to stop until he gets there. That was going to be an all-night work-type fight for Tim anyway. And Tony, I thought, just made it a little easier for him. Based on him, it looked like he just came to the ring a little dry. And it looked like the game plan essentially was to try to preserve energy, which may be why he didn't move left and right as much as I thought he would. And then obviously the game plan beyond that, I thought the game plan beyond that was to use the jab so much you create the rhythm of just the jab, and then he was going to bring the right hand. Just the jab, and then he was going to bring the left hook. And I thought he was going to clean it up at some point, but never got there.
It's interesting to me, before we move on, because there's other stuff to get to.
Yeah, let's go back real quick. Did you see, and then we'll go back to Tim. Yeah. Or you want to finish on Tim?
No, I was just thinking of a guy like Tim, and then we saw Kambosos before him, and then we've seen other Australian champions. It's interesting how we always had that same follow-up conversation of people have a game plan, you go in there, you see someone lose and be like, oh, well, they didn't stick to the game plan. Manny Pacquiao lost his belt going to Australia. Yeah. We saw Teofimo Lopez lose to Kambosos from Australia.
Right.
We now see this. Tim Tszyu, who people were downplaying when he was going into a Charlo fight. Now we see him face an equal opponent.
Absolutely.
And then dominate that fight.
Absolutely.
Charlo and Harrison were neck and neck before the knockout.
Yeah.
First fight, neck and neck.
Yeah.
Tszyu didn't have those problems.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see that with Australian fighters where maybe there's just not a lot of film. It's like football.
Yeah.
It's like one of those, it's like, yo, you play the division teams. Yeah. And it's like, I know what they're doing. Yeah. But for that one game, you got to travel across state or something.
Right.
You don't get that film. You don't get that familiarity.
Right.
And looking at these Australian boxers, it's like people like Tim Tszyu don't got the quality opponents.
Right.
That's cool, but he didn't take the level of punishment that some people maybe coming up through America have to take.
Exactly.
And then you really don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So you get your bits and pieces here or highlights from this fight.
You don't get any high level opponents against him to really, gauge how fast he is, how quick he is, how strong he is, how much pressure he's actually going to bring, You
have no clue. And we see that. And then you have a guy like Devin Haney now know what Kambosos is after watching a Teofimo fight.
Yeah.
So he goes in there and he has a good game plan, makes it look easier.
Yeah.
And then same thing, Terrence Crawford goes in there after Pacquiao, makes it look easier against Jeff Horn. And then now we'll see if this Charlo being on broadcast is the smartest thing Charlo could have done.
Yeah.
Because now it's like you didn't get little pieces of highlights.
Yeah.
You don't get the just, ooh, who is this guy, or dismissing him.
Yeah.
You saw an entire fight against a guy you fought, you've game planned against.
Absolutely.
You know the skill, you know exactly what he is capable of.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And you know he can't get out of the jab.
I thought on fight night we saw Tim Tszyu we saw him grow up that week. I personally saw him grow up. I thought he did some things that show maturity. And at the end of the fight, at the end of the night, he said, "What's my name?" He says, "I'm Tim Tszyu. Okay, I'm no longer Costa Tszyu's son." And I really do think that not only does he believe it, I think he showed it. And I think he proved some things to himself. And that's how you grow up, like on fight night in the moment. Is the question all week was, is he ready? Yep. He's never been against this kind of opposition. Is he ready? So guess what? 2013, nobody thought I was ready. My team, we knew that we were ready. But essentially, until we get in the ring and put it down that night against Devin Alexander, we truly don't know if we're ready. But in that moment, I grew up in the moment, and I also proved to myself that I was ready. Tim just did the exact same thing.
That's scary for Charlo.
It is.
This guy now has a whole different level of confidence.
Yeah.
Because before he thought you he could beat you.
Yeah.
As a mandatory.
Yeah.
But now he's like, I saw you fight this guy.
Yeah.
And now, just tooth and nail, you had to dig deep, and I ran through him.
Yeah.
The level of confidence is...
Twice. Because even in the rematch, Charlo gets the knockout, but it was a hard fight between the knockout.
I think he was losing.
Yeah.
Before that knockout. Yeah. So you look, and then Tszyu's like, this guy never hurt me.
Yeah.
He never had me in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, so you and him are equal.
Yeah.
You ain't got nothing for me.
Yeah.
So now that level of confidence is just, it goes both ways. So Charlo gets a game plan, he gets that, but now Tszyu's confidence.
Here's what's even better about that fight now. You get a Tim Tszyu who, had he not fought Tony Harrison, everyone would have said, if he loses to Charlo, he wasn't ready. Everyone would have said he's never been up against anything like that. What did you think was going to happen? Now we know that he's ready. His stock has risen. Whether you like it or not, his stock has risen. Then guess what? You got Charlo coming off of 2 fights against Castaño. One fight where he didn't make any adjustments at all, a fight that I personally thought he lost, thought that he wasn't listening to the corner, had to go back to the drawing board, threw a draw, and right some wrongs. I think the key thing for him was listening to Derrick James. Come back in the rematch, listens to Derrick James, gets the late stoppage. Now he proved to himself, a lot like Tim proved to himself that he belongs there. Charlo proved to himself, as long as I listen to my corner and I make the adjustments, I come out on top. So outside of an injured hand, we got 2 fighters clearly in their prime. Yep. I don't know Charlo's age, but he's right around that 29-30 mark right there too. 2 fighters in their prime, no excuses. We got one of the best fights that could be made at 154.
No, hands down. And now it looks like Tim is Charlo's toughest opponent.
Yeah.
Because for everything it is, and, you know, full disclosure, I vote for the ESPN pound-for-pound rankings.
Okay.
I'm on that panel. I've had Charlo floating around 10 through 12.
Where you had me back in the day? Where did you have me at?
You were around there.
All right.
Around there. You know,
kill.
You know, Shawn, you were the mix.
Kill.
No, but you look at that and it's just like, people are like, why isn't he top 7?
Yeah.
How do you have guys with 2 belts above him?
Yeah.
Undisputed.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where the level of competition just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it was,
yeah.
And I don't think it's not 160, right? It's not 147. 154 isn't that deep.
Mm-hmm.
But when it did get tougher, I don't want to say he struggled, but he was equal to those guys.
Yeah.
He has a draw. You know, he has the 2 Harrison fights, one being a loss, come back and avenging it.
Right.
And I'm not a proponent of like wins or losses matter that much in boxing.
Sure.
Because I love that, like rematches and everything. But when we're talking pound for pound, there's people who don't struggle.
Yeah.
Terrence Crawford got 1 belt.
Yeah. Doesn't struggle.
Never struggled in a fight.
Yeah.
Errol's been great. Errol's had closer fights.
Yeah.
He has more belts.
Yeah.
But similar opponent, you.
Yeah.
Errol struggled. That was a close fight.
Very.
It came down to him getting the quick knockdown at the end.
Yeah.
Really, that's the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Crawford doesn't have close fights.
Yeah.
That's why he's above Spence.
Yeah.
Because in pound for pound, no one's gotten close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, he's gone fights without losing rounds.
He lost rounds to me.
So like he's had like those fights. I think of like Benavidez fight. Like there's fights where he just blew through people.
Yeah.
Spence has had more laboring fights.
Sure.
When you get to that high level, these things matter.
They're supposed to be laboring fights too.
And Charlo has those laboring fights. Other people sometimes do not. So it's
I think
one of those things.
But the thing with Charlo, because when you get to that level, there's supposed to be, I like that word, there's supposed to be laboring fights. They're supposed to be close, competitive, exciting fights. Charlo's fights were close, but they weren't that exciting. And the opposition, first of all, the name wasn't there. Beyond the name, you really couldn't see something very glamorous about this opponent. Overwhelming power, overwhelming speed, or crazy footwork, anything like that. He's had close fights against competition that really don't look like it's his level. Yeah. You know, so I think with this fight, we will finally be able to, even though he is undisputed, say, hey, this is who this kid really is. I personally think he's gotten better since the Castaño fight. I saw a lot of what I went through in my loss with Kel, a lot of what he went through in his draw with Castaño, where there were just moments where he didn't listen to the corner, adjustments were told, and adjustments weren't made. And so I think we have a great Charlo getting in the ring with a very good Tim Tszyu relatively soon.
He has to prove it. That's what's so great now. Yeah. Like he has someone where you finally think like this guy's on his level. Mm-hmm. He has someone younger. And kudos to him, because a lot of champions, after being undisputed, would have vacated, they would have bounced. Yeah. Even if you stay, you weren't going to fight, the young guy coming up. Yeah. Mandatory or not. Yeah. You move something around, you're not taking all challengers. He doesn't run from anybody. He didn't just say like, yo, I'm going to go fight Danny Garcia. He's at 154 now. Yeah. Like he's not fighting like just someone with a bigger name, maybe a smaller guy.
Other fighters, and I'll raise my hand, would have said that.
I'm not taking on the 28-year-old dangerous guy in our division. Yeah. There's nobody racing to fight Boots.
No.
Virgil Ortiz at 47, right? Like those guys have to become mandatories. Yeah. But Charlo was like, he's been a mandatory for like, what was Tszyu mandatory for like 3 months, 4 months? He was like, all right, let's go. Yeah. Like it's one of those things where you say a lot, he ain't scared of nobody. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how he proves it. I think this fight could get him into that 10 range for pound. I
want to go real quick. Paulo Acuso, did you see him fight?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear my commentary over that fight?
I did.
All right,
Look at this. Cool. I was watching it with my co-host Andreas Hill.
I just got to point this out, and I know I tweeted earlier, but I'm now the only boxing analyst broadcaster to be on every single boxing platform. Outside of like, what is that, Fight TV?
Yeah. And there's like BLK Prime.
Yeah. I haven't been on BLK, but we spoken.
Yeah, so but you're definitely in demand, and it's great because also I had to cover the Jake Paul fight.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. Man.
But you just work with everyone so well that it's so seamless.
Yeah, it really truly is seamless. But beyond that, man, I've told my dad this, and I've told other people on my team, in my camp, in my family, things like that. I'm trying to be the example. I know it's much easier for me to go behind a desk and do my job, but if I can communicate with any and everyone who needs to be communicated with, I have the right people doing my business for me, I get on every single platform. There's no malice there. And if I can do it, the fighters need to learn how to do that too, because it can be done. Look at me as the example. And even though you're signed, because I have signatures, there's ways around that. It's not about being hard-headed. It's not about biting against the grain. It's simply about saying, that's what I want to do. That's who I want to fight, and make it happen because you have the ability to make it happen. Don't tell me that you can't make it happen because you have the ability to make it happen.
It's very interesting because that is the exact mentality from afar that you had when I watched your boxing career. Mm-hmm. You fought everyone. Yeah. You fought anywhere, any platform, any country, like whatever it takes to get the fights, you were always doing that. Yeah. And you kind of just transition that to media. Yeah.
I just got back from Australia, and I'm in the studio a couple hours after getting back from Australia, and that's exactly how I did my career. My dad would always say, you hit the ground running. And so when we were amateurs and we would go to Colorado Springs to train, when we got off the plane, even though we were in altitude, I'd never been there before, my dad would say, get your shoes on, get your run in, get your shoes on, we going to the gym, hit the ground running. And what he meant by that was you don't stop working. It doesn't stop, And so even though I just got off of a job, I come back to another job because I want to hustle for myself, for my family. But beyond that, I want to show these fighters how to hustle. It can be done. Honestly, I was blessed enough that everybody was on my side of the fence or my side of the street or whatever the case may be. But that one time when it wasn't, I said, I'm not fighting anybody else. I don't have time for anybody else. That's the guy that I want. And it happened. Some people are mad at me because I did that, but it is what it is. You got to if you're daring to be great, do what it takes to be great. You know what I'm saying?
And we're seeing that more and more in boxing.
Yeah.
Specifically women's boxing. Shout out to women's boxing.
Yeah, man.
There's no streets in women's boxing.
They don't give a damn.
At all.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, you're undisputed?
Yeah.
I want that.
The best part about female boxing is that this has never been had before. You've never had multiple fighters in one weight class that could contend and be a champion. And so the way they've always moved female boxing was, as soon as we can get a woman to a championship, we see women get championship titles in their 7th fight. fourth pro fight, third pro fight. As soon as we can get them there, how long can we keep them there? And so now it's becoming a thing where we don't know how to move these women and just make money within our own stable. We don't have a stable anyway. So let's just do what we got to do.
That's the key.
You know? Yeah.
No one has a stable of 3 women.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie Hearn maybe. Eddie Hearn now has like 5. Yeah. But like they're not all in the same division usually. Exactly. So even he's moving his talent between divisions. Yeah. We now see like the Serrano rematch is supposed to happen. Yeah. And this week, Katie Taylor was like, nope, you know what? Serrano's hurt. So I'm moving up and I'm challenging to be double undisputed. Yeah. People are like, wow. It's like, yeah, Clarissa's been 3 times undisputed.
And I was with Alicia Baumgartner this weekend, and she said that, Katie Taylor running from me. I ain't mad at you. I'm going to go ahead and speak on it. But she asked me, she said, do you think Al Haymon will ever sign a female fighter? I said, well, I don't think it's anything sexist about it. I don't think he is against female boxing. I just think that when he started PBC and he got into boxing, he did what he knew. And I don't think female boxing has ever been something he considered. He's a man who knows how to make money. And he knows how to make money with the men. How do you say that? Men boxing. How do you say it?
Men's boxing.
Yeah, men's boxing.
Wow. I was going to say male boxing?
Yeah,
with men's boxing.
He knows how to make it with men's boxing. He doesn't have a game plan for female boxing, so he's never done it. I think if somebody comes along and says, hey, we can do it, this is how you make money with it, if he trusts it and believes in it, he'll do it. But I don't really think there's anything sexist about
it takes time.
Yes. And I told her that. I said, and it takes time.
It's so new. Like, me being at ESPN, Bob Arum wasn't thinking about this 5 years ago. Yeah. But then Michaela Mayer comes along. Yeah. And he just found her scouting, I believe, Shakur at the Olympics.
Yep.
You know, Bob loves the Olympic fighters. Yep. And then it was just like, no, she's like an Olympian, we can get her. And then that turns into Siniesa now. And then there's multiple women in the top ranked banner. It's only going to take one, and then I'll be like, oh, I get it. Yep. Or I can market this to this audience and everything. So it just takes that one. Dana White in the UFC once said women will never fight.
I think someone just has
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. I think someone just has to bring it to Mr. Haymon the way someone eventually brought it to Dana White. We got Coach Derrick James on the line. He signed off because we took too long. We was talking. Hopefully he comes back. But I just want to get his take on Tim Tszyu, what he thinks about him. And, I think that Derrick James is probably studying him more than a half dozen times by now. And I think that, if anything, he may see something a little different than he saw before. Again, once you step up in competition, you really see somebody firing on all cylinders, So I want to hear what he says. And then also I want to, find out how healthy Charlo is and see when they expect to get that fight going.
Yeah, definitely. While we wait for him to come back, we were talking about crossing the street and everything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ryan Garcia and Tank.
Yeah.
While we wait for Derrick to join the call. That's a case of young fighters doing what you're telling them to do.
Yep.
Controlling your career.
Yep.
Going out there and saying, I want this fight and nothing else. Yeah. And a promoter going, well, I got to make money.
Yeah.
And then you forcing the issue there.
I think the makeup of a fighter is starting to change. We're seeing a lot of young fighters take those steps to championship title contention much sooner. And then you got a guy in Ryan Garcia who says, I have my path. I understand you are my promoter and you have my path for me, but I have my path as well. And I'm going to veer off right here and go the way that I need to go for myself, for my life, for my career. And I really do appreciate that, because I think that the fight got made. I'm not going to say the fight got made, but I think the birth of this conversation is because you had one fighter say, hey, that's who I want. I can beat him. Give him to me. And then you got another fighter saying, well, let's go. You can't beat me. But I think if the birth of that conversation started with Ryan Garcia looking at Tank Davis saying, I want you, I can beat you.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing the evolution and next phase of boxing, especially for these young fighters. It's where fighters come in at 17, 18, 19. They get these fan bases earlier than maybe someone who was slowly pushed through the ranks. Even people, big names like De La Hoya and Floyd, when their careers took 20, 25 fights, these fighters come in with a fan base that is beyond that at 17, 18, 19. So they make a lot of money between 21 and 25 now.
Exactly.
To the point where by the time they're 25, 26, like we see with Gervonta, like we see with Devin Haney, Like we even see now the leverage that a Ryan Garcia has. Yeah. Teofimo flexed that power, ended up in a purse bid that ended up going to Triller and then the zone.
That was crazy.
But at 24, 25, 26, they're saying, I can almost promote myself. And a lot of them are promoting themselves. Yeah. And they have more power sooner. Yeah. Floyd had to be 30 to get that power. Exactly. De La Hoya left Top Rank at like 31. Like, we're just seeing that evolution happen at 25, 26. Yeah. So it's like they're taking control of their careers because they're making money earlier. And they're stars earlier.
I think boxing kind of defeated its own purpose. You know, I've been saying for a long time now, fighters in this prime between, what's my numbers? Between 33 and 35. In this prime between 33 and 36, 37. That's what I truly believe. But if for so long, y'all been seeing the fighters in this prime when he's 30, why are y'all waiting until a fighter is 30 to get that championship title? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's better to get these fighters those big opportunities much sooner. You know, and that's a whole nother conversation because now we're talking about the longevity of a fighter's career. We're talking about the longevity of a fighter's life. Yep. Every fighter is not meant to take punches over and over and over. Some don't stand up as long as others. You look at Terrence Crawford at 35 now. He's in relatively good shape. Yep. Hasn't taken a big pounding. But take a look at somebody like myself. I didn't take a big pounding, but my style was work all night long. Yep. So at 35, I'm like, yo, I'm tired. I'm hurting. I'm done. But if you had got me those big fights at 30 years old, I might still be in some big fights at 32, 33, 34, 35.
Yeah. And now imagine, Ryan's 24. Yeah. So it's one of those where you look at it and you say, all these kids say I'm gonna retire by 28. Like you're not leaving by 20. That's not the case. Yeah. This is your career.
And disclaimer, I know I've said this on my podcast before, but my dad, when we were turning pro, my dad said you're retiring when you're 30. And that was our deal. Yeah. That I was gonna retire when I was 30. But you don't know the game when you first turn pro. You don't know how long it's gonna take. You don't know how much money you're not gonna make so early on, you know? So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you look at that, and then now the realistic age for this is 34, 35, if you want to get out. If you're a great style like Shakur or Devin, maybe you can push it to Floyd levels where you're 37, 38, 39.
Right.
But pretty much that mid-30s is that area. So if you're taking these big fights now, then you're like, okay, I can make money from 24 to 35 in these big fights instead of taking and working my way up slowly and taking this guy and then 1 inch and 1 inch. They know they're talented. Yeah. They're like, I can beat this championship fighter. Yeah. So if I'm going to beat him at 24 instead of 29, that's an extra 5 years earning potential. Yeah. Because the worst kept secret is that, like, well, if you fight, a fighter, it's going to be worse on your body than fighting D level fighter. Yeah. Everyone punches. Yeah. Every single hit to the head matters. Yeah. So why am I wasting hits to the head against someone who is 8 and 24 instead of fighting someone who potentially I could become a bigger star, and if not, just make a lot more money.
I hear you, Rev Kel.
So it's like they're telling these kids to fight like nobody's like, no, if somebody's going to hit me in the head, it's going to be someone who I can make $6 million against. Yeah. Because if I'm Ryan Garcia, I'd rather get punched by Tank right now for 6 mil, 8 mil, than you telling me I'm not ready and then fight for 2 mil against Jojo Diaz.
I wanted Ryan to get a quote unquote tune-up fight. The Javier Fortuna fight happened like last year around summer, early summer, late spring. Excuse me. I wanted him to get another fight for 2 reasons. Number one, get that engine revved up again. But beyond that, look at what Tank just did. Tank just made another announcement that I'm ready for Ryan Garcia. Ryan, I felt needed to get that reintroduction to who I am before his fight with Tank.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I think Ryan played it perfectly well. And that's only because Tank is at a weight where he's comfortable. He's now fighting and his body is relatively going to be in that same point. Yeah. He could take that fight. Yeah. For Ryan was ready to go to 140. Yeah. And if not, catch weights a little bit above 140.
Yeah.
If it's not for a title.
Yeah.
His body was big.
Yeah.
So now if you look, if he would have took a fight at 140 in January, then you rev up, you got to eat again, fuel your body, get back into camp, and then weight cut again.
Yeah.
This time he's just been cutting weight incrementally for months.
Well, I mean, you hope.
Yeah, well, he stepped on the scale. I think he posted on social yesterday.
Okay.
It was 145 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, so, that's great.
Yeah, amazing. When you're fighting at 136.
Yeah, absolutely.
145. Absolutely. But he has all these months, not only to get healthy, but to make sure his body isn't going up and down. Because no matter for what camp, whatever camp, you're cutting, you're rehydrating, you're peaking, you're resting, you're going back into it. He didn't have to do that. Yeah. He comes in and he's had 6 months to make a weight and get like, all right, you know what? I got to make one more weight cut instead of 2. Because believe it or not, the kid's still probably cutting to 140. So it's like, it may not be a drastic cut, but it would have been 2 cuts. And he's like, no, you know what? Now I just got to do 1 cut.
Yeah.
And whatever he says, Tank draining him, he's not going to be drained that much.
Yeah. Which one is this? Who is this? Is this Derrick James? Okay, yeah, let's bring him in real quick. What's it? Oh, coach, you on your way to the gym?
No, I'm coming home from the gym.
Oh, okay. Well, shoot, man, I done got my times mixed up. I ain't gonna keep you long. Just wanted your thoughts on the fight.
You're right.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison the other night.
I think that it was a pretty good fight up until, Tony has the tendency to, he die out a little bit. And I think that he hasn't been the same fighter, unfortunately, since he fought Jermell. I think those 2 fights were very hard. Fight back to back. A lot of times, fights like that take a lot out of you. So he wasn't the same individual. And, say a year or 2 earlier, before Jermell, it would have been different. But I mean, I think that Tim Tszyu, I'm sure, I remember, I think that he fought amateur during the same time he fought. So you kind of saw him come up.
Yeah.
And you know what his potential really is. And I think that sometimes, hey, man, some people kind of die before others. So I think that, Tim Tszyu, not to take anything away from him, he's a pretty good fighter, but I think at the same time, I think that a different Tony Harrison would have been a different result.
Yeah, absolutely. I got one more question for you. Now let Kel take over. When you watched the fight the other night, was there anything new that you saw from Tim Tszyu that you hadn't seen over, the course of his career?
Nah. I think he's a very aggressive fighter. I think that he's I think he's aggressive. I think that, but if you think, because you look at the level of competition, because it's all about building and developing fighters, and building fighters is what they do in most foreign countries. I think that he hasn't faced anybody similar to Jermell. So, I think that, that's a good thing for us, I believe.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Kel.
But I think that he's a good fighter.
Yeah, Coach. So looking at that, now knowing exactly and getting a good glimpse at Tszyu in this fight, when you look at Jermell, do you take stuff from this fight in particular, since it's a common opponent, and kind of give a different aspect of the game plan? Because now you guys have more time, right? So do you take something from this fight and be like, okay, we can rework stuff in our game plan to be even more prepared?
Well, I think that it gives you a different perspective, in the sense that you see him fighting, and really we don't base off the similar comp, because he's not the same person.
Yeah,
that's not the same Tony Harrison. He still talks the same situation, but he's not the same talent wise. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it wasn't the same situation really, and I never really based it off that. I just watch him and see what he does, how he reacts, or what the punches he throws and things of that nature. So not so much about the similar competition, because it wasn't, but I just watched tendencies and habits, and when he moves here, what does he do when he moves there? So it's like you create an ideal of what they do.
Couple more questions for you, Coach, then we're going to let you go. I am a firm believer that the rematch with Castaño was very necessary for Jermell Charlo and his improvement and his maturation in the ring. Do you agree with that?
No doubt. I think that it was needed because it was like the draw was what it was. I mean, but the rematch was all about separating himself from Castaño and any other idea of how he was on the same level. I mean, and we needed that because I saw in the first fight that Castaño, Jermell was hurt.
Oh, we got knocked out. Oh, man. You called in too soon.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Billy?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
So here's the thing.
Doing, Shawn?
I'm going to explain this to the audience real quick because we're not going to cut this or anything. So Billy Dib is our motivational guest for today.
Sir.
What's up, Billy? How you feeling?
I'm doing good, Shawn. Hey.
We are going to. There he goes.
There he goes.
All right, one more question. Yeah, we got you knocked out by our other guest. One more question for you, then we'll let you go. How healthy is Charlo right now, and when do you expect this fight to happen?
Well, he's getting back healthy, man. It's all about his hand. It's all about therapy. I'm not for sure as the actual date. I mean, it's something between them and Al Heyman. They just come back, and tell me what it is. I mean, and then we go from there. So I'm not for sure about that actual thing.
Yeah.
But I know that, he'll be.
I'm predicting Billy is coming back on the call.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling the same way. Yeah. Nobody. We got nobody.
Yeah. It's all right. Lines get crossed sometimes.
We got no news out of that.
This is what Nah, but when you look at it and you can shoot Derrick a text and tell him thank you.
Yeah.
But
good call on that.
as we wait for Billy to join us here in a second, it is like interesting to hear that perspective because after coming through a fight like that, it seems like it's status quo for Charlo going forward. And what we did just get from Derrick is it's all about health first.
Mm-hmm.
So before a date is set, before anything can happen, you look at this and you say, how healthy is the hand? Get the hand healthy. Make sure you're 100%. And then we'll worry about dates, locations, scheduling, all of that. Because without a fully healthy Charlo, especially against the Tim Tszyu we just saw, if you're not 100% healthy, and I understand, I've been around enough boxers to know they'll fight whether 100% or not.
Oh, yeah.
So it's up to people like Derrick James, it's up to the doctors, it's up to the promoters to be like, no, get 100% and not rush a date.
Absolutely.
Because right now we're coming right off the fight. Everyone's amped.
Yeah.
I want to see this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Charlo's like, I'll do it.
For sure.
It's like, no, you got to get that hand 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to kind of slow him down.
Yeah, good call. If anything, I just wanted to kind of gauge on how healthy that hand is. And, the thing with, and again, another thing with the fight is you just got to make sure that they're doing what they got to do. It takes, my dad would always tell me, get a massage. And everybody would look at me like, massage feel good. Why won't you go get a massage? Because I have to lay down for an hour. I have to lay down for an hour and a half and do nothing. I don't want to do nothing for an hour and a half. So it took a long time for me to even start just going to get massages. You know what I mean? So you're talking about me not wanting to get rubbed on. Now he's got to do things with squeezing balls and, lifting stuff and all these different types of things. Make sure that he's getting his physical therapy in so that he can be 100%. Things like that you can't take lightly because you miss a couple of sessions and your hand's not as strong as it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be. And now you have a fight coming and you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And so, I definitely don't want to speak anything of that nature, into the atmosphere, but I definitely want him to I definitely want him to be getting all that physical therapy in because it's simple stuff like this, bro.
Just boring.
It's simple stuff, just like this, squeezing and catching stuff and little stuff like that, just to strengthen the muscles and all that kind of stuff. And it's boring. And you be like, I can go out on this date or I can go there. I can go out and get something to eat or I can go that. I can go to the movies or I can do that. I can be at home playing a game and I'm still working. I'm getting my physical in, or I can go do that. You know what I mean? So definitely don't want him to put that off. I know we're going to have to get out of here pretty soon. We got Billy back. I'm going to preview real quick. Let's do real quick. David Benavidez and Caleb Plant next week right here in Las Vegas. What do you think about that fight?
I think Caleb Plant's an amazing fighter. Stylistically, defensively, he has the advantage. But I think Benavidez is a whole different beast, right? Like, I don't think he has a puzzle right now that any boxer at that weight class can solve, Canelo included. I just think that his pressure in that fight is one that a guy like Caleb Plant and just his style, he's not going to sit down on his punches. He's not going to make David respect him enough. He's a slick counterpuncher, and the defense leads to the offense. But against David Benavidez, I feel like you kind of have to put the pressure on him. Put him somewhere where he hasn't been. People try to counterpunch him before. He'll take those and give them and say, well, I punch more than you. He's a big dude. He was a big boy. He's cut a lot of weight to get to where he is. So I think the person that challenges him probably won't be in this weight class. It'll be when eventually he goes up in maybe 2 weight classes and fights like better Biev if he's still around, you know, or someone of that size and stature, because someone there can kind of impose their will on him. And now how do you fight off the back foot? Can you be defensive? Like we saw with Canelo. It was like, yo, you went too high up in weight, and then those skills where you thought you were just gonna walk down someone don't translate against a Bivol. We need to see that adjustment. I just don't think Caleb Plant is going to do that.
This is a great fight next week. I hope people aren't sleeping on this fight. Stylistically, it's great. The caliber of opponents is fantastic. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a close fight. I respectfully disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. My dad told me when I first turned pro, he said, you're gonna have to start sitting down on your punches and giving somebody a reason to respect you. If they don't respect you, they're gonna keep coming after you. So I'm at the wild card and I'm boxing, I'm slick. 5 rounds, I'm slick. But the body shots is getting to me. The head shots are getting to me. 6, 7, 8 rounds. And I'm like, I'm retreating and I can't keep guys off of me. My dad's like, what I tell you? You have to put something on your punches to stop these guys from coming after you. And eventually, I learned that lesson and I started doing it. I think Caleb Plant not only has been working on his strength and his conditioning, all those things with Coach Larry Ray, shout out to him, for some time now, but I think the last fight that he just had, he proved to himself that if I sit down and I let this rip, I can hurt you. And I think that it's going to be a mix of speed and power coming from Caleb that Benavidez has never had to deal with before. He's never had to deal with the kind of quick feet that Caleb clearly has. The fast, sweet hands that Caleb has. All those things. I actually think that Caleb Plant is going to win this fight. I hate to put the word actually on it, but I know a lot of people are counting Caleb out, which is why I said actually.
Yeah, I just think, again, if he does win exactly how you said, but you got to keep that guy off of you.
100.
And the thing we'll see from David Benavidez, which he hasn't had to show, which is that chin and that toughness is just as good as his hands and that strength. If you're talking about wild card.
That's a hell of a fight.
You talking about wild card? Ask the people in wild card about David Benavidez when he was like 17, 18.
I'm familiar.
I'm familiar. And he's going in there with guys like Triple G and the big dudes and the punches he would take before he knew how to give punches. And he was a sparring partner because he could take punches when no one else could. And then the hands came along, the skills came along. So I think he finally gets to show it.
And I also think that coming off of the Canelo loss, then again coming off of the Darrell win, I think that Caleb Plant is practically in his prime and ready for anything. So
experience is different. The experience level
I know
is
y'all
different.
hate when I say it, but it's 50-50. It is what it is. Great fight, man. I think that stylistically, I honestly think that this could be the fight of the year. You know, a lot of people are amped up about Garcia and Davis, and I'm not really sure who else they're really amped up about, but I think this could be fight of the year.
No, I 100% agree. On paper and the styles, this is a fight where you look and you say, someone's not just going to win, they're going to take it.
Yeah. I believe Showtime pay-per-view?
Yes, sir.
Showtime pay-per-view Saturday night. Don't miss that. Order this one. If it's it ain't no snoozer. So I'm putting if it's a snoozer, you ain't happy, I will refund you your money. I got it. And I trust myself on this one. I ain't making predictions. I predict that this could be the fight of the year. Beyond that, y'all know we got a week of lives. We'll be out here. We don't have a schedule. Not my fault. Swanson Communications, and they like getting everything put together, but we'll be releasing the schedules on the PorterWay Podcast, Twitter, as well as mine, and we'll keep y'all up on all that. Carson wanted me to let y'all know that we are doing paintball. Of course, Kel, you invited. Paintball Saturday morning before the fight. Let's get that up real quick before we get my guest in here. So we will be doing some paintball. Y'all probably seen us do it before. Let's fast forward through this and let's just put up the information, the website real quick. Combat Zone is South Las Vegas, just past the M. You go past the M South and you can't miss it on your right-hand side. We got the drone flying around us and we just out there having a great time. So y'all, if y'all want, come on out. We will pay for you. You just got to show up, bring some padded clothes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get to our motivational guest, Billy Dib. Billy, what's up? Look at you, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I just left the hospital. I just had to get the Hickman's line taken out. So the journey of this cancer is now officially over, man.
Is this your second time beating cancer?
This is my first time beating cancer, man.
First time beating cancer.
God willing, I'll never have to experience it again, Shawn.
Yeah. How deep do you want to go into the story right now? I know we don't have that much time, but how deep do you want to go? I just, talking to you the other day, shout out to Russell Peters. We were at the Russell Peters show, and you and I, we really got into it, man. I'll go as deep as you willing to go.
I'm willing to go as deep as you want to go, Shawn. It's no problem, man. I'm an open book, my friend.
Perfect. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna scratch the surface because I'm gonna have you come back. And in the segment when I have you come back, it'll be much longer. But tell everybody. I know you said how hard this cancer was. Tell everybody, what you went through.
Yeah, man. So I was diagnosed with cancer just over 5 months ago. It was obviously a very, very big shock to the system. I've been living a healthy life, practically my whole life, and to get cancer was a bit of a slap in the face. But obviously, God does things for a reason, and I know that, and I accept God's decree for me. But I just want to say that, cancer is one thing, that the chemotherapy is a whole nother ballgame, and something that I've never experienced in my whole life. The pain of chemotherapy was just on another level, man, and that I'm just so grateful that I was able to overcome it and just to be here today, because, the doctor said I got 6 months to live, and we're approaching that 6 month mark now, so I should be getting ready to die, if I didn't start the chemotherapy. So, I had a little son, man, and I made a decision when the doctor said that I needed to time my camel, as they say, and just really I made a decision that with my son needing to go to school in the next couple of years, I wasn't going to let him go to school and tell his friends that his dad passed away when he was 3 years old. So I'd do whatever it took to beat this cancer, man.
You said that it was the chemo was one of the hardest things you've ever been through.
Definitely, man. It was just horrendous. I don't mean to gross the fans out or anything like that, but the vomiting was just on another level, man. I from the moment that I entered hospital to the moment that I left, I probably vomited over 500 times. So it's
my God.
just the constant vomiting was just that you can't get used to something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would only happen every time they infuse you with the chemotherapy. And obviously, I did 4 rounds of chemotherapy, which consisted of about 40 days of chemotherapy, which was unbelievable. The pain was just on another level. Complete another level.
You and I, we were speaking the other night, and this is what really hit me. You said you refused to do the chemotherapy. You were not going to do chemotherapy. I don't know how much you knew about it at that point in time, but you said that the doctor came up to you and said, hey, if you don't do chemotherapy, you've got 6 more months to live. And I'm sure your son was probably 3 at the time because he's 4 now. You said you looked at him, and that's what kind of was the trigger for you, was just looking at your son, realizing that you could be leaving him.
Yeah, the minute that he said that to me, I was like, look, what do I got to do to turn 6 months into 60 years.
Yeah.
And he said to me, exact words was, basically, you need to start chemotherapy yesterday. And I was like, well, I'm on board. And he's like, you've changed your mind that fast. And I said, look, it ain't about me anymore. And you see, Shawn, in life, man, when something's not about you and it's about other people as well,
yeah,
you tend to find another gear. Find another gear, you know what I mean? And so for me, that was the gear that I needed. Like to know that I could be leaving my son behind was like, no, I can't do that to him. I can't rob him of having a father.
Yeah.
You know, because nobody's going to raise your son the way you're going to raise him. No, you're going to love him. And I was like, I'm not going to rob him of the chance to go to school and tell his friends that, oh, my dad's this and my dad's that. Instead, he's going to go to school and tell his friends that my dad passed away when I was 3 years old. He died from cancer. But I fought this thing as hard as I could because I wanted to show my son that, you know, that dad was willing to do whatever it takes to be there for you.
Yeah. You reached out to me. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll let you go. I promise. I promise you we will have you back, man. I enjoyed the time that I spent with you the other day. I enjoyed connecting with you over the Instagram, which is kind of how everything first kind of kicked off. But I will say that you are a fighter. And I tell people all the time, like, we're all fighters. And we all have things that we have to fight through. So I just want to tell you that, man, from the bottom of my heart to the top of my heart, I appreciate you fighting for what you believed in, fighting for what you felt was your purpose. And I'm glad that through what God put you through, you found your purpose. And I'm happy that the news has come back that you are free of cancer. And we will definitely keep it in our heart and in our prayers moving forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. For all the people out there who supported me during this journey, I can't thank you all enough. Obviously, you know, if it's not for faith, you know, family, friends, and love, you'd never get through something like this. And I'm just glad that I had all of that support. God bless you all.
As am I. Hey, we'll see you on the next one, Billy. We'll be in touch, all right?
For sure.
All right, cool.
Take care, my man. Thank you so much.
Listen, and I'll be brief because I know we got to get up out of here. But I sat there talking to him, and he doesn't know that I don't run my social media. So, and sorry if y'all didn't know, but I get the important stuff. So my guy, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he lets me know that Billy has sent a message, and so I communicate. Just so y'all know, if you're being responded to, it's me sending, hey, say this, say that, whatever the case may be. So I end up running into Billy Dib at Russell Peters' comedy show. And I argue with my wife to go to that show. We get there and Billy's there. And my wife just don't care for Russell Peters' comedy. She's like, I don't want to hear that kind of language, blah, 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 blah. And I don't mean to blah, blah, blah. But I was like, yeah, we got to go. I didn't know Billy was going to be there.
Yeah.
But I do believe that God always creates a way for me to live in my purpose. And so I get there, I see Billy, and Billy's like, yo, thanks for responding on the social media. And we just start chopping it up about everything that he's been through. We got to have him back. His wife, he lost his wife to cancer. So his 3-year-old son, now 4, lost mom and was on the way of losing dad. So we're going to have him back. But here's what I wanted to use his motivation or use his story for. Number one, you can't stop fighting. And I've said this before on my podcast. God, if you wake up, God said go. God didn't say stop. So why do we stop? So whatever you're dealing with, you broke up with a loved one, you lost a loved one, trust me, my heart goes out to anyone who loses a loved one. You got fired. The list goes on. You have to fight through it because you never know who's on the other side of your victory. You never know who's on the other side of your victory. You use your victory to inspire somebody else to get through their struggle. So never stop fighting. And the other thing I want to say, excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought real quick. Oh, he found a purpose. He found a purpose to fight. If you wake up and you're like, find purpose. Don't give up. Don't think that you got nothing to live for. Don't think that you got nothing to get up and brush your teeth and get up and get ready to get out the door. Find your purpose. And when you do, live forward and live for it and live because of it. This is the PorterWay.